Hey, what is up, guys? Joe Hubbard here. I wanted to give a big shout out to a good friend of mine and bass player extraordinaire, Rufus Philpott, who's just written a great classical piece for electric bass called Prelude in D minor, which is chock full of some great content that'll keep you busy for the next couple of months. It's available over at his website, rufusphilpott.com, so get on over there and grab yourself a copy today. Rufus sent me this piece of music a couple of weeks ago, and I've only just started to look through it and thought that I would share the first 24 bars with you, which is just about half of the first page of this 4-page etude. As I said, the piece is in D minor, and it's also in 6/8, but you could just as easily think of this as in 2/4 by playing triplets. So let's see how I get through the first 24 bars, and then I'll come back and break down some of it. So what's really great about studying classical pieces is investigating what the chord changes are. All those Bach pieces that you've practiced actually outline standard chord progressions like 2-5-1s, but many people never look into that and in turn just end up playing these things by rote, but don't know what chords the lines are actually outlining. So the idea is to really get inside of the musical content when you're working this whole thing out. So like I said, the piece is in D minor, and it starts off by outlining a D minor triad. Notice how it uses repetition. This is used all the time in the classical vernacular. You'd hear this regularly by composers like Bach and many others to establish a line and then repeat it again. It goes from the D minor to a D major triad. And then it goes to a G minor triad, but it's starting from the 5th. Okay, and now it goes to a G7 with a flat 9 in it. And then it finishes off by going to an A7 with a flat 9. And then the last bit of it goes back to D minor, where what I really like about this is how it brings out these polyrhythms in this line, because basically we're working with 3-note groupings, and these are 2 notes. So it has that nice cross rhythm effect to the whole thing. What I really like about this piece is how I can work on shifting positions using diagonal fingerings rather than playing with a vertical fingering. I want to make this whole process hard. Why? Because when you work on classical pieces, you want to make sure that the note length is held to the full duration. And it's much harder to get the note length right when you're playing these diagonal shapes rather than playing vertically all the time. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the harmony of this piece. And as I stated before, it's super important to understand what the chords are that are outlining the lines that you're playing on this type of a thing. This is how you're going to understand how to take some of these ideas and use it on other things, which is super important for your overall evolution as a bass player. So what we've got here is it starts on that D minor triad. So we're looking this in a key of D minor, so that would be a 1 minor chord. When we then go to the D major triad, this is really pointing to a dominant sound because it's leading us to that 4 minor triad. And yes, it's a classical piece, so we don't have that 7th outlined in this, but that's what that chord is really sort of alluding to, is that secondary dominant, that 5/7 of the 4. And this is almost like a minor blues in the structure. Not exactly, but it's very close. It then goes to the 4/7. We've got that G dominant 7 with the flat 9. And then it moves up to the 5/7 with the flat 9. And then it takes us back to that D minor. Remember how those triplets were grouped in groups of 2 notes, so it gave us that cool polyrhythmical flavor. And that's just half of the first page. So if you go ahead and go and pick up this PDF, you've got 3.5 more pages just chock full of great content that you can really take the next few months to really learn this. A lot of people rush through these things. They think, oh, I'll read through this in a half an hour and then I'll move on to something else. You're wasting your time. You got to spend like weeks and weeks on these type of things and actually learn them as a piece. Notice that I really have only started working over this in the last 2 days. And I already memorized those first 24 bars. Why? Because I understand the harmony. It's, you know, the harmony, understanding harmony allows you to memorize so much faster. It's just because you go, there's the structure. You can see it. If you're looking at everything as just separate, then you're never going to know how it all fits together. And you'll forever have your head buried in that chart. So these pieces are for you to take and learn and really work over a long period of time and get them right. Okay, so I just thought that I'd shed a little light on this piece for you as I'm just starting to work through it myself, like I said. But make sure to visit Rufus's website and send him some lockdown love by picking up this great piece that he's put together for you. Till next time, practice smart, work hard, and play creatively.